somebody wants to support you right now and they can't or they don't because there's no room for them to support you in truth. When you are ready to be supported in truth, then you are ready to be supported. Let's talk about it. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to another episode of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion, no last necessary, your Get You Right Guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or was on my mind. When we get into the episode, I'll catch you up as to why season 5 ended so abruptly. But I am glad to be back. I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad you made it over when they turned the page from 23 to 24. If you're new to this space, this is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel, same way I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. Respond as opposed to reacting, and honor and make use of the pause. Lastly, as our first order of business before we get into any episode, we take a few seconds to make affirmations so we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. Let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead and take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. My needs are always met. Everything I need is already within me. I communicate my needs effectively. I listen to and respect the needs of others. I offer the support I desire. I am honest about what I am able to give and do. I am open to receiving the truth from others. I am honest with myself. I am learning. I am growing. I am well. It is well. All is well. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So November 7, season 5, episode 6 goes up, and then the channel goes dark until last week. No notice, no season sign off, no closed for maintenance sign. And even though it really wasn't that long before the season was actually supposed to end, it was super abrupt, and that's not okay. So what's the justification? Remember, I told you I had a lot going on behind the scenes. Now, y'all know I had the accident. Y'all know I went away shortly after the accident. What you didn't know was that during all of this, I was enrolled in a digital marketing course. So in addition to all of the hats I already wear, I was once again wearing the hat of student. In this case, there was no wiggle room because while it was self-paced, there was a firm graduation date and projects that had to be submitted in order to graduate. And it was a scholarship program. So I would have lost the scholarship if everything wasn't done when it was supposed to be. Managing all of the responsibilities of the What One Woman Does family and the podcast and everything else is a lot. We've discussed this in the pod. And if you watch the staff meeting series, you've seen the conversation there. You have two types of people with commitment issues. You have the ones that find excuses to not commit to anything, and the ones that commit to everything and then stress themselves trying to figure out how to do the new thing when the previous things are still pending and in many cases have reached the urgent or critical zone. I'm the overcommitter. So I had 1,000 things on my plate, added this course, and as it got down to the wire, I had to choose which was going to get the bulk of my attention. The course won. It took doing that I was not always doing, and focus that I did not always have, and conversations where I was comfortably out on the ledge and desperately needing someone to pull me back inside, close the window behind me, lock it, and pull down the shades. Gratefully and by the grace, I graduated. 2023 was an uncharted experience for me, so being able to close it out with a bang was necessary. So I took some time to celebrate myself, to congratulate myself for surviving feeling like I had fallen on my face, making decisions that really didn't pan out the way I thought they would, and actually falling on my face and having to deal with the physical, mental, and emotional trauma of that. After we celebrated, everybody did their holiday thing, and bing, 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 the calendar flipped, we shouted Happy New Year, and here come Kat. The man done went off, and I couldn't even finish editing this episode because I had to be still and really think about what just took place in that interview and dissect it to make sure y'all got it too. Okay, so now you're up to speed. Let me start by saying thank you for your unwavering support. Thank you for checking in to see if maybe YouTube fumbled your notifications. Thank you for going back and rewatching previous episodes, because support and presence means so much, and so often we take for granted how needed we are in lending said support. Now, Passionates, we've talked about the challenges of moving forward or growing something without support. We'd all love to say that we accomplished whatever organically. It feels better, it sounds better, it looks better. There's something impressive, even if it's only impressive to yourself. There's something impressive, satisfying, and gratifying about saying, I did this on my own just by being me. And while that feels great, it doesn't feel great when someone you feel, you think, you know, does not possess the same whatever as you, the same charm, charisma, talent, personality, eloquence, intelligence, presence. And we're saying this based on a consensus amongst varied audiences, right? We're not just self-aggrandizing. We're factoring in feedback and opinions of others. The consensus is, you got it, they don't, no argument. The numbers, on the other hand, streams, views, like counts, comments, shares, average watch time, strangers and new visitors, or listeners versus subscribers, the numbers say they them and you ain't it. So some will bite the bullet and go the paid route because while organic is amazing, organic moves at its own pace. That could be lightning speed or snail slow. Point is, support is vital. And while there's plenty of conversation about the need for support, there's not nearly enough conversation about what it looks like, how to get to it, or why you're not getting it. Now, I had some challenges thinking about how to jump into this, and I didn't really come up with anything particularly graceful, so I'm going to just jump in with some examples, okay? I've read books that even though the sentence structure was lacking, the mechanics were not up to snuff, this book still had me enthralled. I was captivated. I couldn't put it down, and the fact that I had to stop reading was an imposition, right? And I say that as a grammar nerd. So even if I've read a book and the grammatics were lackluster, if the subject matter and the storytelling were solid, I could stick with it. It wasn't about the vocabulary. It wasn't about the embellishment. It was about the believability and relatability. Same thing with short films, skits, and like indie feature-length films, right? I've seen some work that's been really good with no bells and whistles. And while there were some things that could have been tightened up or could have been better, for the most part, it was really solid and really worth the support. When you're reading something that is so poorly written by your standard, it is a strain on your eyes and your brain can't even process it correctly to the point where you're trying to restructure it to make sense of it. And you have to do that every sentence or every few sentences. Eventually, you're going to get tired, you're going to close the book, and you're going to say, okay, you know what, I'm not about to do this. I'm not. This is not what I consider acceptable. And I'm not subjecting myself to this. And I wouldn't subject anyone else to it either. This circumstance can apply to so many creative spaces and feats. And as the receiver, you may feel passionately opposed to what's being presented to you. But it can be very challenging to say to someone, "Oh, like that." But as creatives, I think that a lot of us are hoping and expecting that people will bang with our content because they bang with us. And it's an unfair expectation. You put pressure on your relationships for people to be your audience when they only signed up to be your friend. I've had to learn that. And I think more people would benefit if they also became, 1, aware of that, 2, in tune with that, 3, at peace with that. Your friends are not your audience. So person X writes a play and they want me to buy a ticket to the show, and I would not like to go because I don't think they're a good playwright. I still think that they are fun to party with. I think they are great to talk to. I think they are loving, and I enjoy having them in my life as my friend. I think that they should pursue their dreams, their aspirations, and their goals. I do not think that where they are now is perhaps where they think they are. I think they need to spend some time on craft development. They think this is stage or screen ready. We are not having the same thoughts. Because I love you, I want you to be encouraged to pursue what you love. Because I respect you, I don't want to lie to you and tell you that this is good if that's not my honest opinion. What happens now is that depending on how it's delivered, we often become offended. And we feel like the person who was telling us this, because our egos are big and in our way, we feel like they're trying to put us down, when in actuality, the main reason you think I'm trying to put you down in this moment is because I know you intimately. Because if I had this exact opinion about this exact script and you weren't the one who wrote it, you would either rebut and say, I think it's good, and leave it there, or you would agree that it's trash because it's not your feelings on the line. However, if you release it, and the feedback you get from a larger audience is now, this was trash, this never should have been done. I don't even know why you wasted your time with this. You must don't have no friends, because why would your friends allow you to put something like this out? Right? All the hateful and abusive things that people say on the interwebs, the same person who was the bad guy for keeping it a buck and saying, friend, I need this. That's the same person you're now looking at and saying, why didn't you tell me? There is somebody right now who is struggling to support you because they love you, but not what you do or how you do it. They recognize, or maybe they just feel that there is some level of work that needs to be done, whether it's a crash course or a whole 10-year curriculum. And while there are many instances where, yes, you have to take a chance, jump off the porch and hope you don't break both ankles in the process, pursuing your dreams is not necessarily just running out there and throwing something on a stage or on a screen, throwing some words on a page and calling it a book, getting on a microphone and just letting whatever words and sounds tumble out of your mouth and calling it a song, a poem, or a podcast. No one wants to support anything they don't think is good. I know I don't. I struggle to accept support for something I'm not proud of or think could have been better. But this ain't about me. So now, fellow creative, it becomes awkward when you're saying to someone, okay, let's support each other. I'm going to repost your content and you repost mine. The directive versus the request is already potentially problematic. And there are two parts to this. First, I have an audience, but not necessarily the audience for what you're putting out. And then the ever obvious, you're reposting my content because you think it's good. Full stop. And that sounds cruel, right? But what would have made it better? You're reposting my content because you think it's good, semicolon, I do not echo the sentiment? Sometimes silence or non-participation is the support. Sometimes silence is the only way your friend can think of to not hurt your feelings. It's the nicest way they can think of to say, no ma'am, no sir. Now knowing this, be very careful being the double down person who tries to press people into responding, because some of y'all play tough talking about, I'm waiting for agreeance with your proposition or awaiting validation. But you'd be devastated if the response was, and you will wait until infinity and beyond, because what I'm not going to do is compliment you on something I don't think is well done, be it an outfit, an album, or a social media post. And that's not because I'm a hater. I have no reason to hate. Some of us are way too busy admiring and even admonishing ourselves and the effort we put into what we're doing to sit there and hate on you. We just don't have that kind of time in our schedules. Point is, if you like it, then you like it. And that's that on that. Because we really need to retire the lie that if you like it, I love it. If you like it, I still don't like it. I think that's hideous. But I also think that you are entitled to express yourself in whatever way makes you feel good. And if this is how you felt good before you were in my presence should not change that. Neither should my silence. Now, if your self-measurement is predicated on my measurement or my approval, well, now we're getting to the core of the issue, which is validation. We want to be validated, even though most of us don't want to be accused of or feel like we're looking for validation. But we cannot demand our friends validate us if they don't think what we're doing is valid. I think you're okay at this. I think you really enjoy this and you may even love it. And I think if you love this, you should hone your craft. We talked about that last week, right? Honing your craft is not necessarily just continuing to do this the same way and thinking that will automatically make you better. Honing your craft is learning the fundamentals, watching others who are doing this, listening to how they're doing it, studying the feedback of their impact, right? What are their audiences saying? What are their audiences highlighting? What are their audiences coming back to reflect on? What are their audiences doing think pieces on after they've shared their work? Anybody can get up in front of a camera and start talking. And a lot of folks think that automatically qualifies them as a motivational speaker. And baby, the only person you motivating is yourself. And because you're self-impressed, you feel like others should be impressed with what you're doing as well. But you can have as many or more degrees than a thermometer. That don't make you a good writer. It doesn't make you a good teacher. It doesn't make you a good speaker. It does not make you a good thinker. I mean, and at this point, the way people out here buying degrees online, it might not even qualify you as an actual graduate. All of that is offensive when you feel like you've qualified in every category and your degrees have validated you in every category. But let me tell you a quick story. I used to work in an after-school program in a failing school where I saw writing hung up on the wall. I took a gander at some of what was displayed, and there weren't even complete sentences. Now, sidebar, I'm about to go off on like a 2-minute tangent on grammar, but I promise it makes sense in context, and someone watching needs these notes anyway. A complete sentence has a subject and a verb. I ran. She went. God is. Those are complete sentences. If there is no verb, we do not have a complete sentence, but we can have a complete sentence without a subject. This is where we get command statements like sit down, go, run. In those instances, I'm speaking to the singular you or the general you, but the you isn't expressly stated because it is understood. This is what they teach when they teach you proper written English and proper sentence structure. You are taught best and accurate placement of modifiers, adverbs, and adjectives, be they in the subject or the predicate, and how to diagram a sentence. And while some of these things are taught in higher level English courses, some of them are taught in primary and middle school, depending on the schools you've attended. Nonetheless, a good writer, a good speaker, a good teacher, a good thinker, these assertions are subjective, much like support, depending on your audience. If your audience has been taught better, you cannot impress them with putting just whatever in front of them. If I, as a teacher, never learned much or never learned all of this, then yes, I may very well grade your assignment 1 as your paper being at par because this is on par with my level of understanding, or I'm going to grade it as though it's at par because I just want you to get through, even though you're punctuating fragments and calling them sentences. This is why you've got students going to college and getting D's and F's when they got A's and B's when they were in high school. They believe their professors are the problem when in actuality, their teachers pushed them through. So now you want to be an author. That's not advisable, not by somebody who has had a certain level of education. And when they discourage you, you look at them and think they're a snob, but they're not. You haven't attended the schools they've attended. You haven't read the books they've read. So you don't know that the level at which you're writing would not pass their 5th grade English class. They're not trying to insult you, but in their lived experience. This wasn't an acceptable classroom submission for an 11-year-old. And you're now expecting or desiring for them to be impressed with this in their adulthood. If this wasn't acceptable when I was in middle school, why would I encourage you to share this with anybody else who has had the kind of education that I've had? This would be subpar for them. Well, Passion, you're my friend, and I want to see you succeed. And as my friend, you should want to see me succeed. I do. And because I want you to succeed, I want you to not release that. I want you to not post that. And I'm also not going to post that because I want you to go get better at this thing. And then I will be the first person to billboard whatever you're putting out there. But I'm not going to do it at this level. It's not because I don't support you. It's because I won't support you failing. And your ego won't allow you to hear that part of it. Your ego only heard, I won't support you. When you emotionally mature, you'll hear the whole statement. I won't support you failing. I won't support you being lackluster. I won't support you being subpar. Okay, but Passion, what about the people who are getting really positive feedback on their content, but it's still not translating? It's like they're fans, but it's a secret. There are a lot of moving parts to that. I want to see you win, and I want to help you win. It's two different sentiments. I'm happy for you wanting to get back in shape, but that don't mean I want to do any part of the workout regimen with you. I think this is an excellent episode, and everyone needs to see this. It's very different from sharing it to make sure that people who otherwise would not have known about it now have direct access to it. Some people feel like their support is encouraging you, and that's the most they're going to give. The compliment to them carries the same weight as the like, the comment on the post, and or the share. And if you're counting on their engagement to grow your platform, you may appreciate the feedback, but you don't feel like there's much you can do with it. This is why it was important to do this, because there are a lot of people who really don't feel supported by what they're being offered. And they don't know why they're not supported, but they know they feel a way about being unsupported. There's somebody right now who wants to support you as the person. And while they're going to support you in some spaces, they're not going to support you in others. This goes back to the episode where we talked about should, right? Somebody's saying you should be doing this because they think this is your only skill set, or because this is the skill set they approve of. And that's where they're willing to support you, because the work that you've done or you do in this space is evident, it's quality, they like it, they want more of it. But as for this thing that you want them to support, they may or may not even support you wanting to do it. And if they support you doing it, they're not going to encourage you to do bad. They're not going to encourage you to embarrass yourself. One of the most supportive things anybody will ever do for you is be honest. Now, this may only be my opinion, but it is indeed my opinion. And if you wanted your opinion, you needed to seek somebody who shared your opinion. If you want your friends to share your content, they need to think your content is good. If I don't think your content is good, I'm not sharing it because I'm your friend. Also, I'm not sharing it because I'm your friend. Two different things. I'm not going to share it just because I'm your friend. And I'm not going to share it because I'm your friend. And as your friend, I don't want to embarrass you. And I don't think this is your best work. So when you feel unsupported now, there are questions that can and should be asked if you really want to know why they don't support what you're doing. Example. There have been a couple times I've asked you to share or repost my content, but I noticed that you don't. Can you tell me why? Do you feel comfortable telling me why? If this is your friend, you should be able to have uncomfortable conversation. There are two parts to that. You should be able to ask them a question and receive an answer that doesn't make you feel good. And you should also be able to ask them a question and create a space for them to say something that's not only not going to make you feel good, it may not make them feel so great to say. Now, after you confront them with your concerns, are you okay with and prepared for them to give you harsh criticism? Can they say your thoughts are disjointed, you sound like you're talking in circles, and if I were just a random that came across your stuff, I wouldn't like it, I would scroll past it. So if that's my opinion of it, why would I share it? I think you're a great person, but the quality of the content that you're putting out there doesn't measure up for me. That's why I don't share it. Is your friendship safe if your friend says that to you? Can you still be friends after that? Or is your ego going to say, she ain't your friend, she a hater? But why is she a so-called hater? Because a couple people told you that's very good? Remember, we just talked about levels of education and understanding. Some of them are telling you it's very good because you're speaking at their level. Passion, that's condescending. Condescending, rude, and maybe even obnoxious, but it's not false. Somebody who doesn't write well but doesn't know it reads something that's not written well and thinks it's masterful because that's the quality of work they would have put out. Not in all cases, but in enough. And conversely, somebody who writes well reads something that's poorly written and shakes their head and says, my God, on today. And now you think that person that's saying, my God, on today is a bad person because they didn't make you feel good whole time. How were they supposed to if it wasn't written well? But the couple people that had high praise, that's your audience. And that's who you should be sourcing for support of your work. And if I'm your friend, I should not be lying to you and telling you it's good work if that's not what I would say in your absence. That's not what good friends or real friends do. Real friends suggest resources you can tap or events you can attend alone or even offer to go with you. Good friends find the workshop, tell you about the free course, tell you about someone in the same space who's a great case study. That's a solid way to support somebody. Are you willing to be supported in that way? Some people can only support you by telling you, this is how I think you could be better. Now, there are some people you're going to get that feedback from, and you're going to look at them like, I know you, Land, because who or what gave you the authority to give me all this advice on how I can be better? But not everybody deserves that response. Some people will never like, comment, share, or compliment your stuff. They'll never tell you they're proud of you. They'll never tell you you're doing a good job. They'll encourage you by saying, well, you enjoy what you're doing, and I think that's dope. Is that enough? Because while you want them to consume it and give feedback, you might be better off without anything they have to offer because they're just going to make you feel away. Can you create the safe space for the truth? Can you receive the truth? Can you accept that sometimes the support that will be the easiest on your feelings is silence? Can you accept that the support you need is direction? The support you need is coaching, not complimenting. Can you accept that the harshest criticism of your work is not an indictment of your character? After you ask their opinion, are you going to be mad because their opinion isn't what you wanted? You wanted their opinion or yours? When you ask somebody their opinion, you have to give them room to give their opinion, and y'all opinions might not be a match. Either you're going to be held accountable to help you be better, or we're going to sit in silence. Integrity won't allow me to allow you to relish in mediocrity because that's where you want to be. But I won't stand in your way. If you want to stay in circles of people who will just encourage you at this level instead of encouraging you to do the work to become better. Somebody wants to support you right now, and they can't or they don't because there's no room for them to support you in truth. When you are ready to be supported in truth, then you are ready to be supported. That goes for you, tone deaf person. That goes for you, person who's trying to do vocal acrobatics but not going to a coach who can coach you on how to do vocal acrobatics. That goes for you, person who's doing terrible ad-libs instead of talking to somebody who can teach you about placement for said ad-libs. That goes for you, person that has decided to be an author or an editor, but you don't know how to write a sentence. Person who came out in this ugly outfit. The best support I can offer you in this space is to allow you to feel good about yourself. And I can't allow you to feel good about yourself if I'm honest about my perception and my opinion. That goes for you, rapper person talking about absolutely nothing because all you want to do is be on, not solid, just on. So you talk about guns you don't have, never shot, and may or may not have ever seen in person, fights someone else had on your behalf, sexcapades you've only fantasized about. All this fantasy talking, you can't imagine a decent sound and measure, much less a full 16 bars because your delivery, cadence, vocabulary, and timing is trash. I'm talking to all of y'all. And if the feedback that you're getting is that you actually put out amazing content and you still feel unsupported, are you ready to support yourself by investing money in the marketing? You don't have to spend millions on marketing. You don't even have to spend thousands. You can spend a couple of dollars on marketing and your content can go really far. And even if it doesn't go really far, it'll go further than that. Very nice text from your aunties and your church elders. If you're that confident in your work, it deserves to go far and deserves the audience that's looking for and wants to talk to you about your content in your comment section and your DMs. Spend the money. Let them know you're out here and they'll find you. Are you ready to support yourself? Because at the place where you feel unsupported by everybody else, you have a responsibility to support and endorse yourself. And if that means making the investment and having an advertising budget, so be it. If that means investing in the course to become better, so be it. If you invest in the course and find that you wasted your money because you don't really feel that you got your money's worth out of the course, you still learned a valuable lesson. That everybody that's out here saying I can teach, coach, show, and mentor you ain't equipped. Some are and some should. And sometimes you got to spend some money to find out who the charlatans and the frauds are. It might hurt your feelings. It might hurt your pockets. But are you ready to support yourself and or role model how you want to be supported? In what way are you willing to support yourself? Is it just the affirmations? Is it just in prayer? Are you going to do the legwork? You're going to get out here and develop and hone your craft? You're going to take the classes? You're going to go get a coach? You want to be somebody's coach? Who's your coach? Who's your mentor? Who are you seeking? Who are you following? Why are you following them? Are you auditing your coach or mentor? Do you see them continuously growing? Or are you outpacing the person that you were seeking leadership from? Is it time for you to find a new coach? Is it time for you to go to the next level? These are the questions that you need to ask yourself. How do you want to be supported in the more personal and intimate areas of your life? Do you know? I had a conversation with somebody recently, and we were discussing a relationship where they'd ask their partner, what do you want from me? You say you want me to lead you. Where are you trying to go? And the answer was, I don't know. Well, how you want me to lead you somewhere and you don't even know where you want to go? Because it's hard enough for somebody who has not been taught how to lead, right? They've not seen that example. So I'm already trying to learn how to lead. Some people are born with innate leadership abilities. Some have to be taught. Now you want me to lead you somewhere as I'm trying to learn how to lead, but you don't even know where you want to be led. How can I support you if you don't know how you want to be supported? I can tell you definitively how I want my podcast supported. I would like for you to watch the whole episode. If you can't watch, I would like for you to listen. I would like for you to press that little thumbs up button that's right underneath the video, or whatever button is there that indicates to the platform, this is something that resonated with me. I would also like it if you left a comment, even if it's just good stuff. That's still engagement. I would like a share, and I wouldn't be offended by a donation. Now, I've told you 5 ways I would like my podcast to be supported. If you can't do all 5, but you can do 1 or more of the 5, then yes, I will feel supported by you. Subscribing is great too, but I can't really do too much with the subscription if there's no content interaction. I do appreciate the subscriber numbers though, because yes, that helps me to get to a place of monetization. In my friendship, I want honest conversation, companionship, and engagement. How can you support me in friendship? Let's go places. Let's do things together. Let's have deep, transparent conversation. Can you tell someone definitively and directly, this is what I need and require to be supported? If you can't, before you go running around talking about how nobody supports you, sit down and figure out what support looks like to you. Figure out what kind of support you need. Is it emotional support? Is it mental support? Is it spiritual support? Is it physical support? And then after you have your list of ways that you can be supported in your interpersonal and your professional spaces, then be open to the conversation of, I can or can't, or will or won't support you in these ways. If that's your friend, their inability or disinterest in supporting all you do shouldn't necessarily be cause for automatic termination of the friendship. And if them not supporting all you do is a deal breaker, that's something they needed to know from go. But if they didn't, you need to tell them now. If they say, I love talking to you, I love that this is your dream, I don't love your music, I don't like your lyrical content, I don't like your delivery, I feel like it needs work, so I'm not coming to your show, because if everybody on the stage sounds like you, and I don't like the content you're creating as an artist, I don't want to hear 7 other people sound like you. I'm not spending my money on that. They should still be able to be your friend after telling you that, because after it's all said and done, they honored you by being honest with you. And that is the greatest support anybody could ever give us. And that's all I wanted to say. Go forth, be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Take some time with this episode because it's going to serve you well, okay? Go back and review your passion points. Look in the description box for how you can make donations. Listener letters can be sent to greetings@whatonewomandoes.com. I think that's it. In all things, be passionate. See you later.